Hey there, fellow citizens! Tonight we're diving into the thrilling world of eminent domain. Just kidding, it's about as thrilling as a tax audit. But unlike a tax audit, eminent domain can take your property away, even if you love that property more than a horde of squirrels loves a nut. So, what is eminent domain? It's the government's power to take private property for public use. Think roads, schools, or even that new Olive Garden you've been craving. The problem is, the government doesn't always play fair when it comes to compensation. Sometimes property owners are left waiting for their money, and that's where the real trouble begins. Imagine having your home taken away but still having to pay the mortgage. Not exactly a recipe for a good night's sleep, is it? Let's do this. Let's break down delayed compensation. Imagine the government decides your house is in the way of a new highway. They slap you with an eminent domain notice. You'd think they'd hand you a check on the spot, right? Wrong. Sometimes the government drags its feet, leaving you in limbo. This can take months, even years. Meanwhile, you're stuck with all the financial obligations. You're still on the hook for mortgage payments, property taxes, and maintenance costs. It's like paying rent to the entity that's kicking you out. And finding a new place while battling bureaucracy is stressful. The government's idea of fair compensation might not match reality. They often lowball property owners. Delayed compensation isn't just an inconvenience. It's a financial gut punch. Let's talk about the Smith family. They had this lovely little bakery, a real neighborhood gem. But guess what? The city decided to build a new parking garage right where their bakery stood. Eminent domain swooped in like a hungry raccoon in a dumpster. The city promised the Smiths fair compensation, but then the waiting game began. Months turned into years, and the Smiths were drowning in debt. They had to keep paying the mortgage on the bakery, even though it was about to be bulldozed. Their savings were gone, and they were facing foreclosure, all because the government couldn't be bothered to pay them on time. And the Smiths aren't alone. Remember that farmer in Iowa who lost his land to a pipeline company? He's still waiting for his full compensation, and it's been years. These stories are a stark reminder that eminent domain isn't just some abstract legal concept. It has real-life consequences for everyday people. Okay, so the government finally gets around to paying you for your property. But wait, there's more. Sometimes they'll tack on some interest to make up for the delay. Sounds great, right? Free money. Well, not so fast. The problem is, the interest rate the government offers is often laughably low. It's like trying to put out a forest fire with a squirt gun. Sure, it's something, but it's not nearly enough to compensate for the financial losses you've suffered. Remember the Smiths and their bakery? The city eventually paid them, with interest. But guess what? The interest payments didn't even cover the legal fees they racked up fighting for their rights. So while interest payments might sound good in theory, in practice, they often fall short of providing adequate compensation. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Section 5. Fighting Back. How owners can protect themselves. All right, folks, it's time to channel your inner warrior, because when it comes to eminent domain, you can't just roll over and play dead. You need to fight for your rights, and that starts with understanding your options. First and foremost, don't go it alone. Hiring an experienced attorney is like having a legal ninja by your side. They know the ins and outs of eminent domain law and can help you navigate the treacherous waters of government bureaucracy. Next up, get yourself an independent appraisal. Remember how the government likes to lowball property owners? Well, an independent appraiser can provide a more accurate assessment of your property's worth. And don't be afraid to negotiate. The government's initial offer is often just a starting point. With a skilled attorney and a solid appraisal in hand, you can push back and fight for a better deal. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and the persistent property owner gets the compensation they deserve. Section 6. The appraisal game. Leveling the playing field. Let's talk appraisal, shall we? In eminent domain, a fair appraisal can mean a decent payout or getting fleeced. The government often brings in their own appraisers, who have a vested interest in keeping costs down. They might lowball your property's value using outdated comps, ignoring renovations. That's why hiring an independent appraiser is crucial. Someone on your side without a conflict of interest. A good appraiser considers all factors, from location and condition to current market conditions. Hiring an independent appraiser levels the playing field for a fair price. Section 7. Lawyering up your best bet in eminent domain. Now, let's talk about the legal eagles who can help you soar above the bureaucratic chaos of eminent domain. Attorneys. Look, I get it. Lawyers can be about as much fun as a root canal. But trust me, when the government comes knocking with an eminent domain notice, you're going to want one in your corner. Here's why. Eminent domain law is a complex beast, full of twists and turns that would make a pretzel jealous. An experienced eminent domain attorney knows this labyrinth like the back of their hand. They can guide you through the legal process, protect your rights, and fight for the best possible outcome. Think of an eminent domain attorney as your legal bodyguard, shielding you from the government's attempts to lowball you or pull a fast one. They'll negotiate with the government on your behalf, file legal documents, and represent you in court if necessary. So, if you're facing eminent domain, don't try to go it alone. Lawyer up, my friend. Section 8. Beyond the dollar signs. The emotional toll. Okay, we've talked about the financial burdens of delayed compensation in eminent domain cases, but let's not forget about the emotional toll. Because losing your property, whether it's your home, your business, or that beloved treehouse you built with your grandpa, can be downright traumatic. Imagine this. You've poured your heart and soul into your home. You've raised your kids there, hosted countless barbecues, and created a lifetime of memories. Then, the government swoops in and tells you they're taking it. Sure, they promise to compensate you, but no amount of money can replace the sentimental value attached to that place. And it's not just about the property itself, it's about the disruption to your life. Having to move, find a new place to live, and rebuild your life can be incredibly stressful and emotionally draining. Section 9. Navigating the system. Tips for property owners. Alright, let's face it. Dealing with eminent domain can feel like navigating a bureaucratic maze designed by a sadist. But fear not, my friends, because I'm here to equip you with some essential tips to survive this legal labyrinth. First and foremost, document everything. Keep meticulous records of all communications with the government, including letters, emails, and even phone calls. Note the date, time, and the names of the people you spoke with. This documentation can be crucial if you need to prove your case later on. Next, be proactive. Don't wait for the government to dictate the terms of the deal. Educate yourself about your rights. Consult with an experienced eminent domain attorney and get an independent appraisal of your property. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to negotiate a fair deal. Section 10. Conclusion. Eminent domain and the need for fairness. So there you have it, folks, a crash course in the wild world of eminent domain. We've explored the ins and outs of delayed compensation, the financial and emotional toll it can take on property owners, and the importance of fighting back. Remember, eminent domain might be a necessary evil sometimes, but that doesn't mean it should come at the expense of fairness. Property owners deserve to be treated with respect, compensated fairly, and given the support they need to navigate this challenging process. So, the next time you hear about a highway being built or a new park being developed, spare a thought for the property owners who might have been displaced. And let's work together to ensure that eminent domain is used responsibly and that property owners, are protected from unnecessary financial and emotional hardship. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about bricks and mortar, it's about people's lives.